If you ever lost yourself while caring for your loved ones, then this story is for you. Mama! Mama, where are you?
Mama, where are you?
Chika called out to her mother as she ran excitedly, holding an envelope above her head like it was the most precious thing she had ever touched.
Mama, where are you?
Her mother looked up from the pot she was staring, eyebrows raised.
Yes, Chika. Why are you screaming my name this hot afternoon?
Mama, I gained admission into the University of Lagos to study medicine.
Medicine?
Yes,
So proud.
Yes, my dear. I can't believe it.
Admission into the University of Lagos to study
My
medicine.
daughter, we can't afford your school fees. Remember, your siblings are still in primary school. Please bear with us. Your father is a farmer, and he hardly makes sales from his produce. I am a poor trader.
Mama, but you know I studied very hard for this.
That night, after the house had gone quiet and everyone was asleep, Chika sat on her thin mattress with a candle burning beside her. The textbook she had studied from for years was still open on the floor. She looked at it for a long time, then pulled her knees to her chest and cried. Not loudly, not in a way that would wake anyone, just quietly in the dark. The way people cry when they have learned that some dreams cost more than love. But Chika was not the kind of person who stayed on the floor for long. She accepted what she could not change, and she turned toward what she could control. She got closer to God. She was always the first one at church, arriving before the doors opened, sweeping the floors, cleaning the altar, arranging the chairs so that when the congregation arrived, everything was in order. People admired her everywhere she went. She had a way of making others feel cared for, even when nobody was caring for her. Every morning, without fail, she woke up before anyone else. She made breakfast, dressed Ebuka and Chinenye in their school uniforms, packed their bags, and walked them down the dusty road to school herself. She did it with a smile. She did it like it was the most natural thing in the world to give up your morning for someone else. One morning, her 10-year-old brother looked up at her with those honest, innocent eyes that children have before the world teaches them to be careful with their questions. "Sister Chika," Ebuka said, "why don't you go to school like us?" She crouched down to his level and smiled at him. A real smile. "I will go to school someday, Ebuka. You just go and make Papa and Mama proud, okay?" He nodded slowly and said nothing more. But Chika felt the question settle into her chest and stay there long after. Weeks passed, and then one late afternoon, as her mother moved through the compound with a pot in her hands, Chika called out to her, "Mama, sit down. Let me talk to you." Her mother sat. Chika took a breath and said, "Let me start a small food business. You know I can cook. I will sell rice, beans, and soup at the motor park. Whatever I make, I will use it for Ibuka and Chinenye's school fees." Her mother was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Chika the way only a mother who knows she is asking too much of her child can look at her. Then she nodded. "Chika, if that is what your heart is telling you to do, then do it. God will bless your hands." That was all she needed. She started small, borrowed a few pots from a neighbor, bought her first ingredients on credit, set up a wooden table near the motor park where workers and traders passed every single morning. By 6 o'clock on her first day, she was already there, wrapper tied tightly around her waist, stirring a big pot of beans with smoked fish and palm oil. The aroma alone drew people in before she could say a word. Word spread fast. People said Chika's food tasted like something their grandmother used to make. Her rice was always fluffy. Her pepper soup had the right amount of fire. Her egusi soup made people close their eyes when they took the first spoonful. Within months, she had a loyal crowd of customers. Market traders, Okada riders, office workers, all coming to her table every morning. She wasn't rich, but she was managing. And managing for Chika felt like winning. She paid Ebuka and Chinenye's school fees. She bought her mother new slippers. She had the leaking kitchen roof fixed. They were small things. But in a household that had known lack for so long, small things meant everything. For the first time in years, Chika allowed herself to breathe. But life had other plans. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Her father went to the farm the same way he had for 30 years. Machete in hand, nothing unusual. But that morning, deep in the bush at the edge of the land, his leg got caught in a metal trap left behind by hunters. The trap clamped down hard, cutting into flesh and bone. By the time his fellow farmers heard his screams and reached him, the damage was already done. They carried him home on a wooden stretcher, his face pale with pain, blood soaking through the cloth they had wrapped around his leg. Chika was at her food spot when Ebuka came running down the road, crying and calling her name. She did not wait to hear the full story. She untied her apron, covered her pots, and ran. At the hospital, the doctor told them the leg had been badly injured. There was an infection. He needed medicine, proper dressing, regular hospital visits. It was going to cost money they did not have. Chika looked at her father, lying on that narrow hospital bed, looking smaller than she had ever seen him. And she made a silent promise to herself that she would handle it. And she did. Every naira she made, she divided carefully. School fees first, then her father's medical bills. She stopped buying new clothes. She stopped eating her food so she could sell more of it. She woke up earlier, stayed at the market later, took on extra cooking orders for parties and events on weekends. She ran herself thin, keeping everyone afloat. For 2 years, she held it together. But her father's health never fully recovered. The infection had gone too deep. His leg refused to heal. And then, one cold harmattan morning, quietly, with his family gathered around him, her father passed on. Chika buried him with the little she had saved. She did not cry at the funeral. She stood straight and dry-eyed because someone had to be strong. She cried at night when everyone was asleep, alone in the dark, with only God to hear her. At the graveside, people whispered about how composed she was, how strong. They said it like it was a compliment. But strength for Chika had never been a choice. It had always been a requirement. By the time she turned 25, Chika was known across the community as a hard-working woman, respected, admired, and so the men came. First it was Chukwudi, a decent man from the local government secretariat, who arrived with his people, kola nut in hand, and made a proper request. Her mother listened politely, smiled, and told them Chika was not ready. Then came Emeka, a quiet, kind-eyed schoolteacher who tried twice before sending his family formally. Her mother sent them away too. By the third suitor, the pattern was clear to everyone except the one person who needed to say something about it. Chika heard it from behind the curtain that divided the sitting room from the back of the house. She pressed close to the wall and listened to her mother's voice, polite and firm, sending another man away. The truth that no one said out loud was simple. If Chika got married, she would leave. And if she left, who would send money for school fees? Who would pay the rent? Who would be there when things got hard? Her mother had come to need her so completely that she had stopped seeing her as a daughter who deserved a life of her own. Chika swallowed it and kept moving. 27 came and went. 28, 29. She watched Chineye gain admission into a polytechnic. She watched Ebuka start his own small business. She watched her mother's health improve as the financial pressure eased. She watched all of it and smiled. But somewhere in a quiet corner of her heart, there was a loneliness she had no words for. A hunger for something that belonged only to her. When she turned 30, something shifted. She was tired of waiting, tired of being everyone's answer. She wanted to be loved. She wanted someone to ask how her day went and mean it. That was when she met Femi. He drove a big car. He wore expensive watches. He talked about his import business with the ease of a man who had never worried about money. He was charming and smooth, and he made Chika feel like the most important woman in any room. He said she was beautiful. He said he had been looking for a woman like her all his life. And Chika, who had spent her whole life looking after everyone else, finally let someone look after her. Or so she thought. They married quietly. No big ceremony. Just close family, a few friends, a pastor, and a small gathering in the compound. Chika stood beside Femi in a simple white lace dress with a small flower in her hair. And she was happy in a way she hadn't felt in years. She had waited so long for this moment. She deserved it. She told herself she deserved it. But it didn't take long. 2 months into the marriage, the big car disappeared. Femi said it was at the mechanics. Then came the phone calls, strange voices, angry voices, people asking for money Femi owed them. She went looking for the office he had described, the one where he ran his import business, and found an empty building with a rusted padlock on the door. She stood in front of that locked door in the harsh afternoon sun, one hand resting on her stomach, and understood slowly, painfully, that she had been deceived. That night, she faced him. She didn't shout. She just stood across the room and looked at him until he had to speak. He looked at the floor. He said he had been going through a hard time. He said he had hoped his business would turn around before she found out. He said he was sorry. Chika looked at the man she had married and understood with painful clarity that she had traded one burden for another. Femi had nothing. No business. No money. Only debts of his own. And a borrowed car that had already been returned. She was already pregnant. She didn't leave. She had spent her whole life staying through hard things, and so she stayed. Her daughter, Adaora, came into the world small, perfect, and loud. Looking at that baby's face, Chika felt a love so fierce, it almost hurt. She made Adaora the same silent promise she had made everyone else. She would handle it. She would make sure she was okay. But handling it was getting harder. The money was never enough. Femi contributed almost nothing. Her food business had slowed down, new sellers had moved into the area, and she was too tired and too stretched to compete the way she once had. She started borrowing. A little here, a little there, and then she found herself sitting across from a man with sharp eyes and no patience, signing papers she barely read because she needed the money that badly, and she had run out of other options. When she couldn't pay, they didn't call. They came to her spot and made a scene in front of her customers. They came to her house and banged on the door. The interest was high. The repayment windows were short. Before long, she was borrowing from one person to pay another, and the cycle tightened around her like a rope. Twice, she was arrested. The men she had borrowed from took the matter to the police, and she was kept in a cell overnight while Adaora cried for her at home. Chika had never known humiliation like that. She had given her whole life to others, and here she was, behind bars, because she had tried too hard to survive. She came home from that second arrest and sat on the kitchen floor and did not move for a long time. She didn't cook, she didn't clean. She just sat there, her back against the wall, staring at nothing, her thoughts going in circles she could not get out of. Something inside her had begun to give way, and she was too exhausted to stop it. The headache started not long after. Heavy, pounding, relentless. Then her vision began doing strange things. She began to experience a drastic weight loss. She went to a chemist, then back again, before someone finally told her to see a real doctor. The doctor checked her blood pressure and did not hide his concern. It was dangerously high. He ran more tests. When the results came back, he sat her down and told her gently that her kidneys were failing. The prolonged stress, the high blood pressure, the years of carrying more than one body was ever meant to carry. It had been silently destroying her from the inside. She needed dialysis. She needed ongoing treatment. And it was going to cost more money than she had ever seen in one place. She walked out of that hospital and stood in the sun. She thought about Adaora, 6 years old and still needing her mother for everything. She thought about all the years she had given, all the sleep she had lost, all the men she had let go, all the dreams she had folded up and put away so she could carry everyone else. She thought about the girl who had once run through a village holding an envelope, grinning from ear to ear, believing the world was about to open for her. And she stood in the sun and breathed. She tried to get the treatment. Her mother contributed what little she had, Church members helped. Ebuka sent money from his small business. But dialysis was not a once-and-done thing. It was a machine she had to come back to again and again, and each time it cost money they were scrambling to find. Her body grew weaker. The woman who had once moved through the world like she was built for hardship could no longer get out of bed without help. On a quiet Thursday morning, with Adaora asleep beside her and her mother holding her hand, Chika took one last slow breath and let go. She was 34 years old. She had spent her entire life making sure everyone around her would be okay. She had carried her family on her back for so long that she had forgotten she was allowed to put it down. She had loved deeply, given freely, and asked for almost nothing in return. The village mourned her. The church mourned her. The market women mourned her. People said she was a good woman. People said she deserved better. And they were right. But Chika was gone. And the only thing left of her was a 6-year-old girl with her mother's eyes, sitting on an empty bed, holding a small fabric doll, not yet knowing that the greatest sacrifice of her mother's life had always been her. If you have ever lost yourself while caring for the people you love, this story was for you. Chika gave everything. Her dreams, her youth, her health, her life. Don't wait until you are empty before you remember that you matter too. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you a Chika? Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss a story. There is more where this came from.